I think that Les just brought up his best subject of the week. He told me that the Green Bay Packers' opponent's record is virtually the same as the Broncos, yet they're considered either the best or the second best team in the league. And the Broncos are scraping by at 4 or 5, depending on, and maybe even 6 in some national power rankings. Why are the Packers, in your mind, getting so much more acclaim than the Broncos?
Well, I mean, it's interesting because you're right about the strength of schedule. They're very similar. They're one game apart. And then, like you guys mentioned, the Broncos have 4 road wins, and the Packers have 2. I think, frankly, people are caught up, A, in the struggles of the Broncos offense, like you mentioned, and B, the fact that all but one of the Broncos' wins have been close, have been by a touchdown or less. And that's if there are some people that love the stat of net points, and that's where the Broncos kind of come up short and relative to the other unbeatens. And I think that's part of the reason why you keep seeing these power rankings that have the Broncos 5th and 6th. I'm actually working on mine today. I don't have them yet, but I know last week they were 6th on mine, and that was based off stats.
Yeah.
So.
Isn't it interesting, though, I asked both of you guys, in 2012, when the Broncos were setting all those offensive records, they beat the Dallas Cowboys by 3 points. They were beating Miami Dolphins here at home on the last drive of the game, but they were scoring a lot of points, and they were considered the best team in the league. The Packers barely beat the San Diego Chargers, as it turned out last week. There seems to be a little bit of a contradiction here going on.
Yeah, and it's interesting with Green Bay. I mean, they did, you look at their resounding wins by more than a touchdown. One was over San Francisco, 17-3, which is terrible. And then you mentioned the Chargers game. Green Bay also struggled with Chicago, which is nobody's idea of a good team at this point. In week 1, beat them by 8 points. And then the other game that they had, the only other game they had decided by more than a touchdown was Seattle at home by 10. I think people kind of are still looking back at that game in week 2 because it was a rematch of the NFC Championship. And that really set the tone for the perception of the Packers, even though the Seahawks have struggled since then, and they're 3-4, and they're not. The playoffs start today, they wouldn't be in. I think there's a little bit of there's a little bit of that affecting the perception as well. And frankly, like you guys mentioned, it's an offensive league, and the Broncos have at times, especially this month when they had 25 possessions without an offensive touchdown, the Broncos have looked bad there, no question.
Andrew, I'm going to flip the coin here. Everybody talks about the Broncos defense as being one of the best, if not the best in the league. Very few people talk about the Green Bay defense. Yet, if you look at the numbers, Green Bay has given up 16.8 points per game, and the Broncos defense has given up more, a little bit more, 17 per game. The Broncos only have 3 more sacks. What?
The Broncos, as a team, have given that up. The Broncos defense hasn't.
True.
Remember, you have the pick sixes that are counting against that. So I would say, so you can say the Packers as a team are allowing fewer points to the Broncos at this point.
Yeah, that was good.
The other thing with Green Bay is they're 14th in yardage allowed. So they will let teams go down the field. They're doing a very good job in the red zone. But I mean, if looking across the board, Green Bay has a good defense. Denver has a great defense. It's the question of whether the Broncos can get their offense up at least to average to keep up with Green Bay.
Well, let's follow up on that. Capers versus Phillips.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, yeah.
Who wins that battle? I mean, they're not against each other, but who of those two do you think, in your mind, will come up with the best defensive game plan against these two offenses?
The way Wade Phillips is coaching right now, I mean, I'd bet on him. And it's nothing against Dom Capers, because Capers, like Wade Phillips, been around the block, has done a lot of different things, has been in a lot of different defenses over the years. But, Capers, some Packer fans were calling for his head last year. And the performances of the Green Bay defense since he got there have been mixed. Whereas, for Wade Phillips, certainly look at the job he's doing. And I think the other thing is Wade Phillips has better personnel to work with than Dom Capers. I mean, the Broncos have, even without Shane Ray, they have 3 effective edge rushers because they're expecting DeMarcus Ware back on Sunday, and he practiced yesterday. Whereas Green Bay, on the edge, you're worried about Julius Peppers. Beyond that, not as much power coming off the edge in the pass rush.
He's Andrew Mason of DenverBroncos.com, and all our live guests are brought to you courtesy of Papa John's. Better ingredients, better pizza. Papa John's.